Hello, everyone. My name is Milo of Milo's Mystery Box, and tonight I wanted to talk about how recently I've started to get back into seeing more concerts again and actually starting to go to more conventions like Comic Con and anime conventions. So now you all know that I'm kind of kind of a nerd, kind of an anime fan. Wouldn't really call myself a weeb. I almost said dweeb. But anyways, yeah. So I kind of wanted to talk about how you know I graduated high school in 2018, and before then, social organizations, social clubs seemed to be a lot. I used to have a lot more of a presence before it, did in the present day, and I know a lot of that has to do with the COVID pandemic. And when I was midway through my sophomore year in college, for example, with the COVID lockdowns, that really changed the way everybody really, sees socializing. Because a lot of times people meet each other, as like fellow students in a classroom, or other means when they're kids, and kids, in some ways, in some places, have more opportunities to do various things than adults. But anyways, I kind of realized thinking about it after moving back home from college in the last 3.5 years, and a lot of things in my social life and my professional life blowing up, I kind of realized, I haven't really been doing as much of anything like I did before I got into college. Because before I got into college, there were still a lot of social clubs, social organizations before than there are now. I think even without COVID and without any recessions, we probably would have gotten more isolated and insulated anyways, as things were kind of already going in that direction with people being busy with school and work all the time. And I know I've talked about that in previous videos before, so I'm not really going to dwell on that too much in this video. But I kind of noticed, it's like as a kid, and especially before the pandemic, I felt like there was a lot more opportunity to actually be able to socialize with people, to actually meet people. Because now I kind of feel like you don't really have as many options once you turn 18 and you graduate high school. Because a lot of times, people think, oh, our best options are to go to bars or go on dating apps, even if it's like for the friend or friend functions. But the problem I've noticed is, having used these apps before in the past and not really getting anywhere with them, most of the time on these apps, people are hooking up anyways, or they don't know what they want. So it's kind of a waste of time, unless if you're one of those lucky few. And, I know a few lucky few people, but even then, it's the exception to the rule, not the norm to the rule. And then, with bars, a lot of people you can meet in bars that you don't like. And there's other things that go and, with that, like drinking, certain social crowds. But anyways, I kind of realized as a kid I had a lot more going on, both when I was in traditional public school until I was in 6th grade, and this will be a story time for another video. When I was homeschooled in middle school, then did online high school, for high school, I feel like I had a lot more social opportunities in general, where since then, getting into college, before I graduated 3.5 years ago, and experiencing the COVID pandemic when halfway through school, and transferring schools during the COVID pandemic, I just kind of feel like, just haven't really been doing as much since then. I mean, obviously, I get busy with life. People get busy with life and whatnot. And I feel like as a result, and as a result of some of my own struggles with my social and professional life, and trying to kind of build more of a character of who I am, just, kind of discover, self-discovery as a person, I kind of realized, okay, things aren't the same as they were before, but what is out there and what can I do to make my life kind of more fulfilling socially again? I mean, it's great that I have a lot of the same good friends I had from before, but also at the same time, I need to get out and do more stuff because, we're busy with our own lives. And we need to live our lives too, not just spend all of our time working, going to school, whatnot. I'm going for a professional license, so on top of work, that takes a lot of time. But I kind of feel like at the point of life and everything, I know a lot of times people will say, "Oh, what's the point of life?" Well, I mean, there's multiple answers to that. Might be rooted in, science. Some might be rooted in religion. I'm not here to talk about that, but I think honestly, our purpose in life is, to interact with one another, you know, and build meaningful relationships while we last. Before, eventually one day, we'll kick the can, put it politely. But so, I kind of started to figure out, okay, even if it's a bit expensive and I have to spend some money, kind of like what I used to do towards the end of high school and the beginning of college for a little bit until life caught up with me with college and my jobs. I used to go to some concerts every now and then, and used to be in some student organizations at one of my schools. Yeah, one of the few student organizations that there actually was that existed. Where I was able to get together with a group of friends, socialize and play video games, board games, whatnot. But since moving home and since a lot of my friends live far away, I kind of figured, well, I like concerts. I've had to spend some more money on decent concerts for like national, international artists. Whether I have to go to Chicago or Indianapolis or wherever to see them, then that's not really a problem. If I have to go a little bit further away for some of these conventions, like to Chicago nearby or Indianapolis, downstate Indiana, then so be it. I feel like there's just more to life, than work, than school. I'm in a way I'm kind of like my dad's second pair of eyes, and besides that, and having to exercise consistently, there's just more to life than doing that. And I feel like a lot of times, especially nowadays, people kind of forget themselves in the process when they get so caught up with that, or sometimes they're afraid to go the extra mile or spend the extra dollar. Of course, you have to be able to afford said things, but sometimes easier said than done. But sometimes I feel like too, oh yeah, my phone's shaking because I have a tripod and I can use it as a selfie stick, so I'm trying it in the selfie stick mode, and that's why my phone's shaking a bit. But anyways, yeah, I mean, I know a lot of times people mean well, but a lot of times when a lot of these same people's solutions is, oh, just do the dating apps, or oh, just go to bars. But the problem is so many of the people on, those apps and in those places, I mean, bars, I mean, they're kind of like a certain type of club. You can probably fill in the blanks to what kind of club I'm referring to. But anyways, it's just kind of like where you just don't really meet the best people. I mean, yeah, you can have a good time, so to speak, but it's not always going to end up in something, meaningful or fulfilling. Like you're going to feel like you did something afterwards. But nevertheless, I mean, just get out there and try, do what works for you type of thing. But anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video. My hands are starting to shake now from holding this selfie sticker pole anyways. So anyways, I hope you all have a good night, and I'll see you on the next one. I also forgot to mention on Wednesday, the band Bad Omens is coming to Rosemont, Illinois, or just immediately outside Chicago. I'm excited for that because I haven't been to a metal concert in years, probably since one time after I moved back home from school and was going through all that stuff. Honestly, that should be fun. I'm excited for that. But anyways,